fellow Americans, CBS, and presidents, past and current, you have been lied to. They put whole fake, like they describe fake conversations at locations like campuses, including medical campuses that are filmed 24/7. They put fake ties and fake natures of ties between people into databases also being and having been used by investigators, their campuses. And all exceptions in exception nature never stopped being collusion slash S with the human fact tribute nature breaching method. That is one of the things that is true always, that slavery was about. For example, that which had been entrenched, torture and extortion, three ways that was manifest against every colonist, let alone against the Native Americans. In other words, even worse. Our founders, plural, asked us to refer to themselves, plural, as James Madison, singular, and regarding how they used his plan, which has been replaced by narratives regarding that which they had to pretend, like being against tea taxes. It forced them to speak as groupthink because it still had to hide their roles, as it was a counter groupthink. No one wanted those laws to have other communicated for nature with black people's whites of eyes. Right where we have eyes distinctly from the other species' bodies, but non-distinctly. For that which is showing us, neither us nor them, but only that which is all things at the same time as itself. That identity of value slash value progression, we know to an extent was generated. We know to an extent is being generated. We know it to an extent, like the seasons, as their value. That is not even here yet. They're increasing value even if they never get here. And they come with simultaneously, nature communicates with a special difference. But we have been systems tactical from its own. So if someone stands up to say, for free speech, regardless of what that person is called or whatever, if that person says we have black people's whites of eyes, and this is inseparable from the subjects of American history that was entrenched before America's founders were even born, a human fact tribute nature breaching method manifests three ways by nature's demonstration of it as a torture, extortion, and fact tribute nature breaching method. Therefore, to maintain the physical fact tribute nature, torture, extortion, and slavery method roles, then as styles, needs, and natures, as criminal insidiousness slash hypercriminal insidiousness, because everyone's now rules with the hypercriminal insidiousness, just distinct from, because we have no choice, we don't have the choice, we don't have control. The breaching method already showed all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the courts, and the police forms, and their sources, including the other branches of government, the intelligence tied to foreign domestic, how they are shared next to campuses. They're confessing and have confessed and demonstrated together, including with denials. I only know Eric Oliveri seeking me out to plant evidences with people from other parts of town tied to him, and my neighbors involved with confessions of whether people named Cololo and Smith, involved with confessions of police intercities and online, including people with the FBI. One of the things there, the intelligence is recorded, confess, demonstrate, confirm. They pretend if you don't want to speak to them, they're lying about what they think that is value as, because they faked conversations with me and ties to strangers, foreign and domestic, and at the Wethersfield police station, Wethersfield police roles with such, when I was a kid and I was an adult. That was increasingly their roles with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, not legitimately where they try to pretend, make people whatever with their acting professors too. They don't have one identity of the sciences but it's not with criminally foreign influence, fact-driven nature, quality aspects in nature. As victim slash hyper victims, but as victim predator slash hyper predator, pretending other two to screen the breaching method. Only where they pretend they had, oh, well, I did this, and no, when they're reading the statutes to give benefit of the doubt at the last second, no, to people at the courts, people on based on the people of the police, based on their degrees, etc. Per relative readings of statutes, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw, recorded how maintained, kept only capable of being. Per predicate acts with facts method /S roles. And the relativity of those roles then further at all locations /S roles. Everywhere the human species body has a species body. Now as systems tactical ulterior from that which is hypernative pure. That therefore, what we are speaking about when we are the human names and differences being and having been used remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions, like Native Americans. I'm not Native American. Nature itself is showing me. Anyone with syntax not appreciating their difference relative to the breaching method, they're going to blame other things, others themselves, and self-value that having been done. Right, where and how nature itself and our founders communicated for us to blame a human fact-driven nature breaching method. That's a scientific value inside the communications of our founders, plural, and of James Madison, who they asked to be referred to as singular, him. No other way. George Washington and the extent of soldiers he had left over as a general from the English was not enough to counter the internationally monitored conversations and roles with where and how they had roles with the differences, syntax, positive and negatives, through the breaching method that came from before religious messengers were even born. Already the names of the people of the sciences, from off their locations, they have been tortured, extorted, in fact, human nature enslaved, and to pretend others simultaneously to an extent /S. Otherwise, that body would be sensed, and it would be and is adapted to, including if that body is a majority of people, including if it is everybody, black pupils. For example, in other words, anyone here is white and black. We know, no matter who you are. In other words, you know that it's fake. It's abridged from nature's communications. But since we're kids, we know we have experts that that are for the names of the people of the sciences. They're making fact sheet. They're speaking anyway about things like principles. See, this is principle having black pupils, whites of eyes, and projected to us by that which is projecting where and how the other species bodies also have two eyes for the extent of its body that we could discern, which comes with its complete identity of relationship to itself and the only increasing value of that here, or it is forced from here. We could ignore its system, the human species body of individual bodies with all group differences and exceptions and demonstrations /S of the same thing, and of where and how it is a body as exception, nature, because where and how it demonstrates to us. It is one identity of value progression, distinctly from how it is the grouped parts of itself. Just like a cell is one name. It's because it's one body. And cells are connected. And the body of life is coming through them, appreciating the body of identities, volume science, /hypervolume science, appreciating gases in their elements, water in their elements, as positive or negative, too. No. Bodies have relativity to positive and negative equally. But while we are a quality of diffusion, and distinctly from that, but non-distinctly, and simultaneously from that, but that per that identity of further hyper-simultaneous nature, a distinct identity of simultaneous nature, is projecting to us that and how we have eyes distinct from the other species bodies. We have limbs distinct from the other species body, but also non-distinct. We have hair distinct from them, but also non-distinct. Simultaneously with them, but also per that, not us nor them, but it's all things anyway. And many pray, because until we have fact sheeping nature proper, nature demonstrates with negative value nature progressions, acts, and nature that no one wants. And the breaching method knew that. It could hide behind and through that. Roles blaming what no one wants. Right where how it made and keeps exceptions. And it makes them, like, for example, blaming other things, others ourselves. The people have been writing the Connecticut corrections offices and the judicial branch offices, and names next to it grew up as roles with names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, and their educators and people associated with them, like other students, things like that. They're putting fake things in databases, but also where and how everyone's speaking through others. See, the way the law is, we can't force people to, I mean, they're breaking the law by forcing people not to be able to speak for themselves as individuals when they are alone. They'll just change and fake what's recorded. They just fake ties to little kids and adults with Wethersfield police, as their roles with retired police chiefs and intimate ties with a whole bunch of different police departments, with the same houses personally and professionally involved with them, with child abusers, leaders of kids that were first forced, and the recorded use /s of that even the people involved, like the leaders of the military, inter-intelligence, like the corrections offices of Connecticut and the judicial branch offices, rolls with that with a whole bunch of different countries. And increasingly, I don't know, I never had a personal conversation with Mr. Potter. Increasingly, people tied to Mr. Potter and his family with the state judicial branch offices and roles with the campuses have been identified fraud slanders against me. There's a Casper family. I never had a class with him. Never saw him around schools. One time, he was brought up to me by one of the names on along Route 175 and its conjunctions, who was involved with a former mayor's from Wethersfield, with behavior racketeering, putting fake ties and fake natures of ties between people. Specifically, and collusion /s at the same time with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, whole bunch of different natures of federal criminals before they were caught. Also, relative to where and as answers where and how, why, for example, we have principles being demonstrated to us by nature that are being and have been replaced. The people that have been speaking about crimes and forcing things before courts, they were shown that they, on a mass scale, they prevent mandated law, and they read and defended. They prevent due process while pretending and having pretended other on a mass scale. And they're just changing and faking what's recorded at those locations to pretend they have needs for people to have faith in the integrity of those branches, where witch trials are American history is all about, where the differences of their guilt as the three branches that individually grouped them together, they have predicate acts with facts methods, styles, needs, and nature forced by nature itself. We can observe this and will. Religion, fear. Here again, the names, all names, and even your own. Republic. The republic for which we stand, Campus Marcias. It cannot function properly without the Campus Marcias. there is a difference between positive as criminal insidiousness natures of positive. So people are forcing and like asking questions about what people think about uses of others' names. They're getting involved with people's names to screen roles with other names increasingly involved, including the scientific value of a human fact-driven nature breaching method, right where recorded collusion /s our roles blaming other things, others, ourselves for nature's demonstrations about that. One of the things true always that all those laws were about, as the colonists and as before where they came from, where northern colonies and southern colonies had roles with slavery, and then America's founders were born. It was already entrenched. James Madison's plan forced the North and the South to fight against slavery because it forced them to fight to get the Constitution unabridged. You guys can't afford to have the Constitution unabridged. The breaching method showed you how, the names of the people, the sciences A through Z, including the law. They need to hide what's actually been and is incapable of being discerned. They have roles with torture methods, record whole predicate acts methods. Before the World Trade Center attack, with the identities of the experts on the syntax of the law, like former director of the F.B.I, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO statute, involved with grouping of criminal enterprises. Now, these are people also involved with people with the name Scalora with Florida, Washington, D.C., and people from Weathersfield campuses recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed them involved with others and their sources involved with proven and child abusers, leaders of the kids, sexual and medical, their roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with others from private schools and people that didn't even go to the same campuses. That have been collusions with people next to the state judicial branch offices, also with their extended family members with different last names like Cololo and Demaro, involved with the ones named Scalora. Also, in other words, Interbranch have been switching and forging names, refusing to get on paper since I was a kid, with names like Kerr. Also, increasingly with the officer Jerry Miller in between social media, and with the social media of the Britain Superior Court, involved with predicate acts and rape threats after the World Trade Center, other federal evidences crimes. As before the principal child abuser was brought to my attention, there were others involved with the security of the school and with medical families associated with the school. They've been attaching kids and their families to fake conversations with themselves and others, putting fake natures of ties between kids and others to their family members where they use the right to lie, where they don't have the right to lie. It's also themselves communicating confessions about their roles with the World Trade Center attack, with a whole bunch of different countries, and overt criminal enterprises and private ones in their campuses, and their roles manifest with syntax at corners of streets, and apartment buildings everywhere, all natures of crime scenes next to them, including body dumping spots. All this stuff brought up at the same time, and such is recorded and confirmed through Facebook. But Facebook and other social media, they're being influenced by the interbranch not to be able to appreciate, and the intelligence tied to them, foreign and domestic military. Mark Violette has families that where they live now, where they used to live, reportedly and demonstrably involved with them, as ones along Route 175 in their conjunction with federal evidences planting, like acting so people can plant fake ties, fake natures of ties to be fake exceptions and demonstration of the same thing /S note, like regarding how Mendez police family, the older one, attached me to fake conversations with him at the Weathersfield police station. I never sent a word of conversation with the older police brother, Mendez, who is one of the ones involved with the Facebook page. pages of the campuses, including medical campuses and fire campuses and child campuses with who had roles with a proven principal upskirt nature, with other natures of worse organized crimes with the kids, others and him too, increasingly with people had something to do with people involved with shopping centers and malls, involved with names DeMorrow and Collo, directly and indirectly from all kinds of other. Like DeMorrow has roles of home break-ins with people from the other areas who have time collusion / with state police families interstates, as people roles with foreign and domestic police forms and problems with borders because they have roles with differences racketeering, worse than war crimes. And then they're shown they need to hide that because they are being and have been used remotely already. And they're shown means to get away with that by, like, for example, right where people are forced, where they have to raise their voice because people are planting evidences. And most people don't have, they're recorded on a mass scale. People don't have the sense and sensibilities to care about certain things. They're going to ignore it no matter what, but they want to ask questions anyway. And that is used to sense for the breaching method too. In other words, and so we have to address these things. You can't even receive the names of the people of science as being incapable of appreciating answers proper, science proper regarding reception, for example, of the phrase, regardless of who said it. Jane Austen, who said it? What she said it before. What reality communicates about the phrase sense and sensibility. There was a breaching method that only allowed people to have roles with their own torture, extortion, and slavery, and with those of everyone around them to an extent /s. Otherwise, that body would be sentenced. No one had free speech. Otherwise, that body would. Everyone had to pretend. Still, anyone who tries to debate that and how the suburbs are designed for torture, they have quality aspects in nature about them that were designed for the breaching method that uses quality aspects of nature inside the nature of debate / debates. Like, not just the premises treatment, like A, therefore B. But, it's manifest with that on a mass scale. And like, where and how exception nature are appreciated with our faith. You have been faith. And pretending not to realize other relative. Like, there are subject treatments, topic treatments. It is tactical ulterior from how nature shows us to appreciate the parts of speech, of grammar, not just of English, as subject is. Subjects are about the invisible but still discernible, / the hyper invisible but still discernible, which there's only an extent of that body we can discern where there's a distinct identity of simultaneous nature. That is the value / value progression. As why, as why, as how, and how. Again, is demonstrating us, not our species body, not the other species body. Is that why and how principally there are individual species bodies of individual bodies with group differences being generated, again, by that which is not us nor them, but is all things anyway. People who deny that, they can discern that, come with demonstration /s of the same thing /s. Styles, natures of logic, often valuing Albert Einstein and the fact that he's famous for the theory of relativity. And if someone knows what that is, read that about that or not, the value of that, the value of our founders' words interpreted without what they declassified about that regarding how they didn't have free speech, for example. They had to pretend other about their actual motivation and roles with what everyone was forced to get the Constitution unabridged language up there.